Welcome to Prayer and Bible Band, Lesson 8. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's topic is God Heals Lepers. The background reading is coming out of Leviticus chapter 13, verses 1 through 13, 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 through 14, Matthew chapter 10, verse 8, Mark chapter 1, verses 40 through 45. The devotional reading is coming out of Luke chapter 17, verses 11 through 19. The central verse. I will read the King James Version and the New Living Translation of Luke chapter 4, verse 27. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elisus the prophet, and none of them was cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian. The New Living Translation of Luke chapter 4, verse 27. And many in Israel had leprosy in the time of the prophet Elisha, but the only one healed was Naaman, a Syrian. The key terms for today's lesson: unclean, leprosy, and infirmity. Unclean, morally or spiritually impure, prohibited by religious law for use or contact. Leprosy, a chronic infectious disease caused by a microbacterium, affecting especially the skin and peripheral nerves, and characterized by the formation of nodules or macules that enlarge and spread, accompanied by loss of sensation with eventual paralysis, wasting of muscle, and production of deformities. Infirmity, the quality or state of being infirm or weak or frail in body, as from age or disease. Jesus came to seek and to save those who are lost. He came to set the captives free, and he came to heal those who are sick and afflicted. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. And that's 3 John verse 2. It is part of the reason he left his home in glory to come and redeem mankind from the curse of the broken law. In the early days, before we had modern medicine, many sick people died of different illnesses and diseases that we now have cures for. Leprosy was a bad disease during those days, and there was no known cure for it. Leprosy caused men and women to be separated from their families because they were classified as being unclean. But Jesus is the remedy for all kinds of diseases. Leviticus chapter 13, verse 9 says, When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the rising be white in the skin, and it have turned the hair white, and there be quick raw flesh in the rising, it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. Matthew chapter 4, verse 23 tells the believers that Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. He is the God of all flesh, and there is nothing too hard for him to do. Sometimes the Lord allows his children to get into situations that seem to be impossible to get out of. He allows sickness and diseases to come upon some of his people, and they find out that the doctor has no known cure for them. That is the time they must know that King Jesus is a healer, and he is a doctor who has never lost a case. The late Bishop Gilbert E. Patterson used to say, "If you can have it, Jesus can heal it." Jesus came preaching about the kingdom of heaven, and he let the people of that day know that he could forgive their sins and heal their bodies. He provided healing for his people just as much as forgiveness through his finished work on the cross. God has not made it difficult to receive a simple faith that focuses on seeing Jesus and what he has already done for the believers. He positions the believers for the power of God that is enough to heal every kind of sickness and every kind of disease, including those for which there is no known cure. There were a lot of sick and impotent people who had lost all hope of ever being whole again. But when they heard and saw the miracles that Jesus was doing, they began to follow him, seeking to be healed. The blind, the crippled, the deaf, the dumb, and those who had leprosy came looking for Jesus so that they could be healed. Seeing the multitude of people getting healed gave hope to those who had lost hope. The people began to understand that God was a God who was no respecter of persons. For what he had done for others, he was willing to do for them. So men and women who had all kinds of sickness and diseases began to come to Jesus and receive their healing. Jesus' fame began to spread all over the known regions, and the people came looking for him. Among those who came looking for him in Luke chapter 17, verses 12 through 19, were 10 men who were lepers, which stood afar away from the people. They knew that being unclean, they could not come close to the people. So they cried with loud voices, asking Jesus to have mercy on them. When Jesus saw them, he said unto them, Go show yourselves to the priests. As they obeyed Jesus and went, they recognized that they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back and, with a loud voice, glorified God. He fell on his face at his feet, giving thanks, even though he was a Samaritan. Jesus answered and said unto him, Were there not 10 cleansed? But where are the 9? There are not found that return to give glory to God, save this stranger. Then Jesus said unto him, Arise, go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. Jesus told his disciples that as they went preaching, the kingdom of heaven was at hand. They were to heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, and cast out devils. Freely you have received, freely give. The book of Luke reminded the people that there were many lepers in Israel during the time of Elijah the prophet, but none of them got healed except Naaman the Syrian. It was common to see people who had leprosy in that day, but they were not healed like they were after Jesus came. God can heal any disease that a believer has, but they must have faith in Jesus Christ. John the Baptist, the forerunner of Jesus, sent 2 of his disciples to Jesus and asked him if he was the Messiah or did they need to look for another. At the time they arrived where Jesus was, Jesus had cured many people of their infirmities and plagues and of evil spirits. The blind had received their sight. So Jesus told them to go back and tell John the things they had seen and heard. He told them to tell John that the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and to the poor the gospel is preached. Jesus has power over all disease. Out of the multitudes that followed Jesus, a leper came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Jesus said to him, Don't tell anybody, but go your way and show yourself to the priests and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a testimony unto them. And that's found in Matthew chapter 8, verses 2 through 4. The questions for today's lesson. Number 1, what was so different about leprosy from other diseases? Number 2, why did the person who had leprosy have to separate themselves from their family and society? Number 3, what was one of the purposes of Jesus coming to the earth? Number 4, who was the man in the Old Testament that God healed from leprosy? Number 5, after the leper was healed, why did Jesus tell him to go show himself to the priest? The essential thought, we serve a God who can heal anybody from anything. The end. God bless you and thank you for joining me today.